I've known Tony since he was a kid, since we were kids. I mean, Anthony, how old were you when you started on the trading floor? You're like 18, right?
I was 18. I know.
I mean, that's amazing. And he came up with a group of there were groups of traders. You know, you've heard Judd talk about, or me talk about the different cliques of traders. And the board of trade was mostly Irish guys from the south side. There's some Jews and Italians sprinkled around. The Merc was mostly Jews and Italian guys, and with a few Irish sprinkled around, but not many. And my group of guys was affiliated with Anthony's group of guys. So when he first came down, he was I got to know him a little bit, and then as he became a trader, it was always fun to watch him because he was the very first one of us. While all of the other guys were still on the floor making money. What are you doing up here? Why aren't you going on the floor? You guys are all. I remember you telling me this one day, and I'll never forget it. Pax, in 5 years, you guys will all be up here.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Tell me, do me a favor. Talk a little bit about what I've been talking a lot about over trading lately, and and how that's killed traders. But what do you think has been the hardest? Not just in your not just through your career, but more importantly, what do you figure is, or what do you think has been the most difficult part for floor traders to transition onto the screens? Which then would lead into the second question: is what's the hardest part about trading on screens that you've seen?
Well, a lot of the guys that so for example, like Vince and I were partners for a lot of years. We ended up doing the ARB together for a long time, and
yeah.
He would come upstairs and sit down with me, and he was just like, I can't. He couldn't do it because he couldn't sit there. So I felt like I think one of the hardest things that floor traders had on the transition was the stillness, the quietness, the access to, you could buy the offer or you could work the bid without having to be vocal about it. So I think the physical aspect of it, from what I saw from a guy who I was really close with, I was close with Pontarelli, who's now since passed away.
God rest him.
Rest in peace, Ant. And I was close with him and a lot of other guys that were just, they needed the physical aspect of it. Like they fed off of that energy. Even even Morty, who is another guy I worked for a lot of years. He's in the restaurant business now, obviously. And he just couldn't. He was sitting there and he'd be like, I can't sit here all day. So I think that if there was one thing I had to say was the most difficult part for them was that they couldn't sit there. They just couldn't stand there and wait, and they would just get themselves into trouble. They couldn't see what was going on. So for them, that was tough. I would say that was definitely what I noticed to be the most challenging for them.
And that's a great point. There was a whole physicality. I guess we didn't think about it when we were on the floor, but to make a trade, you had to say something. You had to use your voice, and then you had to use your hands, or sold. Hey, Pax, I buy 10, sold. So at least I had to think about it. I had to wave sold. I had to write it down on my card. At the very least, I had to write it down on my card. I had to write down the opposite broker. So there was an action involved in it. And I flipped the card to my clerk, who kept my count. He gave it to my clerk who checked my trades. But then all it was and Dani Sittloh and I were up in our office the first time that we did this, and just clicking. All you had to do was click. There was no physicality to it. There wasn't writing it on a trading card. The action of writing it on a trading card. There was no, thinking about it. Yeah, sure, I'll sell it. No, I don't want those. I'm going to go for a break. I've got enough on, or whatever it was. All you had to do was click, and you just sold 50. click more. So
Yeah.
old.
Like,
I
could
got
you
300
imagine?
on.
Could you imagine Joey Borst sitting at a screen?
Oh God, no,
I saw him
no,
the other day, and I was just, even when he grabbed me, and I'm thinking, he's just so everything about him is physical. He can't be,
everything.
yeah, he can't be sitting there clicking buttons.
No, not a chance.
No
Not a
way.
chance.
No.
Whenever you see him, he grabs you and hugs you and kisses you. I mean, not slobber kiss, but nice. And he's a very physical man. Everything he does is physical. His smile, when he smiles, everything. Yeah, you're right. That's a really good description, and I cannot imagine him sitting in front of a screen trading.
No, I know. I saw him the other day when I was in Chicago. I was at Capri and Burr Ridge,
I
and I
love
saw
that place.
so many guys there. I saw Buddha, Mike Buttigieg, and several guys. There were
Is
so
Buddha
many
still
people there.
is Buddha still hanging around with Joey?
Well, there was just a group of probably like
Oh,
20
they were
or
together.
30 guys in there. I can't remember who else I saw. But yeah, I was talking with Joey for a little bit.
It says general text. Go back to the left-hand side, or click on your phone where
Okay, yeah, I
those.
see it.
Okay, and then go in the general text. And then here's Danny. Danny's typing to you right now. Dani Sittloh, Danny girl. OMG, what's up? Who's on? See? Do you see Danny's text?
Oh, that's Danny.
Yeah,
Hi, Danny.
VHS. Hi, Danny. Oh my God, who's on? Hiya, Aunt. I love the way she says that. Hiya. You ever text with her? She's always hiya.
I know.
I think that's so cute. We had coffee the other morning, Danny and I. It's supposed to be coffee, and ended up being like dinner. We were there all day. It was like brunch. We should have eaten. Does anybody? So hold on. Thanks for that podcast. Oh, so Rob is all right. So Rob, Anthony, you see Rob S, 940.
Yeah.
All right. So Rob is Rob listens to all of these guys. Most of these guys, believe it or not, most of these guys in our room found me through either the TV show or the podcast, not Twitter. There's a few of them that have found me through Twitter, but for the most part, and I mean it, probably 80% of everybody in here has found me through your podcast or Twitter. So I want to thank you for that. As I retweeted it a few minutes ago, just because I saw TT did it. And
well, cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Rob sent me a message right after he had seen that, or right after he had heard the podcast, when he asked me what my favorite pit story was, and I went ahead and gave you the story about when I got my ass kicked, because that made me into that forced me to become a real trader, which enabled me to be able to make that switch a little bit more. It wasn't an easy transition, but I was still able to make it because I learned how to really trade. But Rob, the day that I described where I was short 18 contracts in the first trading day of the year, Rob happened to be long 12 S&Ps. So he was on the other side of it. He's a big cattle trader too. But we've got Chris. Chris is in Hong Kong. Chris Simp, he's in HK, and he found me through you too. And he's a great trader. Great trader. Also works for a hedge fund. He works for a hedge fund, and then he's in here during our day, during Hong Kong's night, when he should be sleeping.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to Hong Kong in December, or actually just a couple of days after Thanksgiving, but now we're going to Tokyo instead because all the things going on with Hong Kong. So because I'm going to Singapore again, and instead of flying through Hong Kong, we're going to fly through Tokyo, and then I'm actually going to go to Tokyo for a few days on the way back after Singapore.
That'll be nice.
I really wanted to go to Hong Kong too, but everybody is just like, nah, it's just, it's being a little, making sure that we can get through. Yeah.
I mean, what's going on out there is crazy. I talk to Chris all the time about how, if he's safe and all of that other stuff. Tokyo, let me know.
No, I
I can
will.
see you
That's
there.
cool. Cool. Yeah, we're flying through on the way in, and then on the way back, I'm gonna stay there. We're staying there for a few days. I don't even know where we're staying yet. We didn't fully book it yet, but um, yeah, I guess another trader is asking if they can listen on the iPhone app. That's what I'm on. I'm on the
Yeah,
iPhone app. Yeah.
actually, so am I right now. So I just responded to him. Tristan is connect on your iPhone. Okay, yeah. Tristan is from he's a 22-year-old trader. He's from Southampton, New York. Very good trader. So we've got a great group of traders in
Yeah.
here. We really do. I think that there was some in here in the beginning that, of course, wanted to be spoon-fed everything and be told when to buy and when to sell, and that or then contrarian guys that just contrarian traders that just wanted to always either argue about something or whatever, or just haven't been willing to learn or to see another side of things. One of the things that I've been harping, so the couple of things that I've been talking a lot about lately, and I've been tweeting about them too, is not over trading. Is being much more selective about our trades, and also, oh, by the way, I've sold. So now I only have my runaround in crude. I just sold. I didn't pay any attention to it. So I sold them at 56.30. I've got my runaround, and we'll see where those goes. If they get above 56.60, then I'll keep them. If they get to 56.60 and fail, I'll get out. Anyway, so it's being more selective in our trading and not over trading. And I think that's something that we kind of touched on earlier. And the other thing is that and you and I talk about this all the time. It's just that in different words, it's all about execution. You always ask everybody that you talk to, you always say, where are you wrong? Where are you wrong? And everything, execution is everything. Anybody could enter the market. Anybody can sell the market, but only good traders are going to be able to exit correctly. Great traders are going to be able to manage their positions to a point that they're going to be able to remove themselves almost out of the equation, let the market then lead the rest of their trade. But I think that in learning how to manage your positions, people are then, what's the best way to make my point? People learn how to learn how not to lose money. Not enough traders are learning how not to lose money. Every book that you read out there is about how to make money. I don't know if there's any books out there and here's how not to lose money. So that's kind of what I've been concentrating on lately, is managing our positions that we minimize our risk and maximize our profit, and then also to be more selective.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I remember evaluating my trading and saying, look, I'm definitely winning enough, but I'm not making money. So I learned how to be a better loser, because I'm like, just by with what I'm winning right now. This was, gosh, I don't know how many years ago this was, but I would look at my statements and be like, man, I'm winning plenty, but I'm just losing way too much. And really, it's how I started to develop really my strategy, and a lot about myself as a trader came from identifying that, learning how to lose, because I just wasn't a good loser. And I know it's hard I think for a lot of people to comprehend that you have to actually learn how to lose before you win, but it is absolutely the case, because anybody could figure out a way, I think, to make money. I think that's a lot easier. I think figuring out how to lose and how to, accept loss and everything that goes with it is a lot harder. And that's really how I built my strategy around it. I built my whole career around learning how to lose, because that's why I ask people that question all the time. Well, where are you wrong? Because the only thing that matters to me, I think, the other thing that is not talked about a lot, when you get into a trade, everybody always talks about where it's going. If you already know where you're wrong, if I know where I'm getting out, I've already started the healing process. I've already accepted the loss. So in my mind, the outcome,
Huh.
no matter what happens at that point, is a positive outcome for me, because I already started healing. Okay, look, I'm going to get into this trade. I'm going to lose $1,000 if I'm wrong. Okay, whatever it is, right? So in my mind, I've already given that $1,000 to the market. So anything that I lose less than that is a win. And the most I'm going to allow myself to lose is that 1,000, because I now hold myself accountable to that number. So I've learned to really think that way. So this way the healing process starts immediately. And that's just something that I do. Psychologically, it helps me. I go into it knowing exactly where am I going to be wrong? How much am I going to, allocate to this? And from that point, it's already gone.
Well, what an incredible point. Is that something that you came up with on your own, the wording of it, or is that, I know it's a derivative of what we were both taught from Mickey, but is that what you were, is that the wording that you put it, I've already started to heal. The moment that and what a great way to say it and to think about it.
Well, I came up with that. So what Mickey taught me was, what Mickey had said to me one time was, I remember going upstairs. I mean, I used to see Mickey, and I never talk about strategy with him, but I would always talk about, how he'd ask you how your day going, how are you doing, and Mickey, I would say to him, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, whatever, getting my ass kicked, but I feel pretty good about what I'm doing, and he would say to me, and not knowing what I was doing in terms of, was I buying trend lines, fibs, didn't matter, right? He didn't know any of that really about what I was doing. And he would say to me, he's like, Anthony, he goes, that's one of your greatest traits, is that you heal so quickly, and so
Yeah.
I started to think about some of the things that he was saying to me, and, and I really just started realizing, okay, well, I didn't even realize that was an asset that I had. I am a very positive person. If anybody's met me or they've heard me speak, I'm always looking at, I'm a glass half full person. That's why
that's
Pax
funny.
and I get along so well. Because you and I are the same way. We're very similar in
Yeah.
that way. So I've always felt that, after the beginning of the business really got to me, because I was losing so much money all the time, just scared I was going to be out of business. And once I committed to the fact that I wasn't going to let it ruin my life, and I said, you know what, this is the amount of money that I have to work with. I'm going to figure it out. And, I just, no matter what the situation was, I'm like, I just would walk away from it feeling positive. And, that's why I think learning how to lose first is because you've accepted the outcome. The healing process begins immediately. And to this day, I still feel that way. Like the minute I sit down, I mean, the days where I've had the most pain are the days where, you step in and the market's moving and you didn't do any prep. You got there late or whatever the case is, and you put a trade on and you didn't know where you were getting out, but you knew you wanted to be in. And all of a sudden you're getting run over and you don't know where the end is. And then the next mistake comes, and then the next mistake comes, and then it just, it could spin out of control. And to this day, I really fight allowing myself to be in that position, because I know how bad it feels when you're in that position. I don't want to be in a position of weakness. I want to be in a position of where I go in, and no matter what, I feel good about the outcome. So it keeps me from doing erratic things. I feel like that's the one thing that it's different about me now. I mean, I think I have more self-control now than I've ever had. Because I think I look back at all the things that have happened to me, from anxiety, heart attack, just, potentially ruining relationships, all sorts of things that could happen when you start losing money, that you just don't want to go back there. So you know what you're dealing with, and you know where you're at, and you only look at the outcome as positive. So that's really what I mean the most when I say to people that you need to learn how to lose before you win, is you need to be able to think that way.
I've never heard it put that way, and it really is brilliant, and opens up so many. Helps me connect so many dots that I've been putting together with everybody. Is, I talk a lot about, because it happened to me, and it's happened to all of us. We, not all of us, but many of us. especially especially those of us of Anthony and Vince's and mine, and our not just our era. We were the last few really good years, but we were the top of that era. And so, and both had the same teacher with Mickey, and where are we wrong first, and but beginning to heal, so that those downward spirals that start with one trade, and we've seen it all. We've seen traders that were much wealthier or better capitalized than me or any of us, end up going completely broke because of one trade, because they never learned how to heal correctly. They built their career on success, and they used that success and built their career on success, and more success built more success, and that's great momentum. But if you never learn how to lose, and you don't learn how to heal first, I love that. If you know where you're wrong, you're already beginning to heal from that trade, so you can move on, and it totally removes that. God, I love that, and it connects so many different things.
And this is just a big reason why I've talked to people. I've started to talk a lot more on Twitter over the past year or two, more about asking people how they're doing, to open up more on, what's going on with you and how are you feeling about your trading and just in general, right? Versus just what are you doing technically or fundamentally? Because when you start to open yourself up to those types of things, I look at the conversations I had with Mick. If I showed Mick anything I was looking at on a technical basis, it wouldn't matter to him. That wasn't, that's not what he and I were discussing. So, the times I would go and see him, it was just really, Mickey asking me how I'm doing, how am I dealing with, situations and all those types of things. And when he had said to me that my greatest asset was, you're a good healer, you think to yourself, wow, I didn't know that was an asset that I had, and that was the beauty of having multiple mentors. Like Louis Lauder was the mentor I had for understanding just how markets traded.
We were just talking about him and his brother.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, Brian. I talk to Brian every so often.
Oh yeah. Louis and I wouldn't have conversations the same conversations I had with Mickey. Louis would be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you long? That's, it was just a totally different. He wanted me to explain to him why I was doing what I was doing. So he held me accountable on my decision making, and Mickey held me accountable for, the emotional aspect of it, the mental aspect of it. And I think that, you need both without question, but one doesn't work without the other. Because until I finally felt, for me, I looked at how I built my technical strategy was by finally understanding who I was on an emotional level, on a psychological level. Like what did I need? And I needed to have resolve right away. So I started to really think about, only focus where that trade was wrong. And then from there, it was easy to get bigger. People always ask me, well, how'd you trade bigger? How'd you learn how to trade bigger? Dani asked me to talk about a statement story. So it's funny. So I was actually going through some of my statements the other day, and it was just hilarious. Some of them were just so some of the days were just so ridiculous. I was looking at how much I had traded, but how did I trade bigger? And the answer was simple, is that I committed to knowing I was going to get out in a certain area. Depending on how close or far away I was how big I would trade. I think that so many people, they trade one size of a contract size, and they're basically at that point, what they don't realize is that they're actually risking more on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, than they are if they're just.
Shit, Ant. I think we're losing it.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay. So I think one of the things that I realized was that I would go back and look at it, and I was trading, let's just say 3 lots. And if I was always trading 3 lots on every trade, I realized, wow, my risk was fluctuating too much. And what I realized was that I can trade multiple contract sizes and actually control my risk better because I would allow the distance that I was getting in to determine how big. You know, so many people, they can't conceptualize that there's more than one way to risk $400, right? It could be an 8 lot for a handle. It could be a 4 lot for 2 handles. I mean, obviously depending on what market you're in, you know, but for S&P, you know, 2 lot for 4 handles. So if my stop was, let's say I was going to risk $1,000 again, it just would depend. If my stop was 2 handles wide and that's where I decided to get in, well, then it would be a 10 lot, you know. If my stop was 4 handles wide, you know, it'd be a 5 lot. But if all of a sudden I didn't get in right away and it was only $1 away, I'd buy 20 or sell 20. And at the end of the day, that's how I traded bigger. And it was easy for me to deal with it because the size didn't matter. You know, the contract size didn't matter. I knew how much I was willing to risk based upon how far I was from my stop. And that's just how I started just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
So that's something else that we've also been talking about is increasing size. Yesterday, that was our topic in our group mentoring. Was how to increase your size, and it's not just, as I tried to explain yesterday, it's just not just a matter of saying, okay, I'm trading 2 lots, so today I'm going to trade 5 lots. You know, I mean, yes, of course, it's part of it, but it's allowing, and this is exactly what I heard you talking about right now, and of course I do the same thing too. But it's allowing the market, it's allowing the price action will tell us everything that we need to do and to know about the market. Dr. Sandor in his interview came up with one of the best lines I've ever heard, and I've heard it a million times. And he said it was Gordie Howe, but I was corrected. It was Wayne Gretzky. You know, that traders need to skate where the puck. Great hockey players skate where the puck is going, not where it's been, and that's what great traders do. So when one of the ways, let me go back and say, so when a couple of weeks ago we had a really choppy few days, and this was a few weeks ago, and so people are frustrated. Everybody's frustrated on choppy days, and you know, I came back a few days later with you know 3 requirements that we need to have in order to select a trade, which is one is good or perfect trade definition. And what I mean by that is exactly what you're talking about. If I know if I sell 32 halves and I know that I'm wrong at 34, that's good trade definition because I know where I'm wrong. I need that before I select any trade. But if I also know that I'm wrong at 34, I'm wrong being short at 34, and I need to be long there, that's perfect trade definition. I mean, how do you get better than that? Hey, I'll take a shot at being short at 33 half because at 34 half, I need to be out in that market rallying. Well, that market's rallying, so my stop will be for reverse. It's perfect trade definition. But anyway, I will sell more. I will up my size and sell more at 33 than I would at 31 or at 29 or anywhere else that's a little bit further away. I did that again today too. You know, it's just letting the market, like, you know, Dr. Sandor said, letting the market will tell us when to trade more. The market will tell us when to trade less. The market will tell us when to trade and when not to trade. Today, the market's been screaming at me, don't trade, except for crude. You know, price action will always tell us everything we need to know. But the way that you put that about how you increased your size by knowing where your risk is. If you're close to risk, you're going to increase your size. If you're further away from risk, you're going to decrease it.
I think to take it to another level too. So people will be like, okay, well, how do you even? So another level that I would do. Let me talk about this. So what I started to do that really kind of elevated me and how I felt that I started to have really, you know, good days. Were days like, for example, let's just say that I would buy something or sell something and I'd be in a full position. And the market would be let's just say it went through my price. I got in, I scaled in however many I got. Let's just say 10, for example. And then the market would get back above or below, depending if I was long or short, the price that I felt was really, really important. Okay. Now I have the position on that I want. I have the most amount of risk that I want on that position. Mm-hmm. What I would then do is watch the reaction to that area. And if it would start to go, and the reaction would be really good, and it would start to go my way, and it would respect that price that I felt was very important.
Yeah.
I'd double my position. Right. Or I'd work the bid, or I'd work the offer. I'll say I go from 10. That was, let's just say that, whatever you guys are, or let's just say the S&P, right? 2,900, an easy number. I bought them at 99.5. 2,900 was my number. My stop is 8 even, 98. And we go sitting there at 2,900, sitting there, even bid, at even bid, quarter bid, half bid, at quarter, at even. I'm sitting there watching it. All of a sudden, even bid. They can't get through them. Quarter bid. I work quarter on 10, right? So now, all of a sudden, I get filled. If I did get filled, I would lean on the evens. So now I'd be like, if these evens are gone, I'm hitting the 75s. So now that trade was an additional trade that I would have. If all of a sudden they go quarter bid, half bid, I might buy 20 at 075. And now that 20 lot would lean on even, the 10 lot would lean on even. So now I'd have 40 cars on, and I would have, the minute it would go even offer, I'd hit the 75s. Now, that's just one example, but that's how I would start getting really big, really close to stop. And that's how I would trade, a lot of contracts. And I wouldn't let it get too far away. So, for example, if it starts going one even bid, one quarter bid, I wouldn't keep bidding. But if it was within 50 cents, 75 cents of where I felt was, they finally were like, they couldn't get through them, and they're just going quarter bid, half bid, and you'd watch them. I'd be like, and then maybe sometimes I just buy 75s, And I started doing that, would continue to grow. Sometimes I take the whole offer out, but it would just, so it would just be a matter of, once you get really good at that and just committing to, once again, the only thing that mattered to me was be like, okay, I'm up X amount for the day. I got this full position on. Can I double it here? Everything's lining up. It makes sense. It's finally respecting it. I got myself into that one position. It's not going to affect that, but I might risk an additional $1,000 or whatever it is on this doubling of the position. And then you got to stomach having that happen, losing, and then, okay, now I'm going to lay off of it too. Sometimes I blew up days doing that. But then you get really smart at it and good at it. And you're like, what? I'm not going to blow up this day. I gave it a shot. It didn't work. Okay. Move on to the next one. It's not going to change this current position. And then you start, that to me is how I started getting, better at my craft, and that's what a lot of people ask me, like trading around a core position. Well, that's how I would do it. The initial commitment to how much am I going to risk? How big can I trade? Have a range of execution, get the full position on. Now I'd watch the price action around the area that meant the most to me. And once the responses were really good to it, then I knew, at least you believe you did, that area is going to hold. And now you'd step in and you try to help them a little bit. You know what I mean, Pax? I mean, that's like, I do. If I would look back at so a lot of people don't know who like a guy like Praz is. So I learned that from watching guys like him. Like I remember Praz coming, and I'd watch him. He'd be like 10 at even, sell 10. They go up, 10 and a half. He'd still be offering them. All of a sudden they go up another handle, and maybe he'd be like the whole time he's just selling 10s. Now not too big of a range, but all of a sudden they just go down and they go at 9 even, at 8 even. He'd be like 100 at 7.5, and everyone would be like shit. And now all of a sudden everyone's at a half, because now
exactly. I did all of that.
Yeah,
it's exactly how I traded. Yeah. No, go ahead. Explain that.
So what he would do is he knew if somebody were to buy that 100 from him, I mean, which would be very unlikely, but he'd always be on the offer. Now, if he did get filled on it, he would just keep selling until maybe it went 8 even bid. And if all of a sudden went 8 even bid, you'd see him just look at what a broker. If there was a broker at a half, he'd be like, fine. He wouldn't even think about it. It wouldn't matter. Yeah. He'd just get out of them. And that's when he was quiet, because he was just be like, I got to cover these now. So, to me, it's like when things are going your way, you get yourself into your position, you watch the reactions, and when they start paying you and it's working, that's when I would really start to press. And the situation would have to be lined up for that to happen, but that ultimately that's how I made money. It wasn't just by like, okay, I'm in this position now, let's see how this goes. I would get aggressive during the times where everything was working for me, and I would just be taking as much as I possibly could. And then you just get yourself way ahead, and that's how I would build up my accounts. So then when I go back to where there was nothing going on, I didn't feel as bad. I didn't feel I needed to press, because I'm like, what? It's just not there. I'm not gonna sit here and just waste my time all day. I'm not gonna be pressing on a day, like rollover. God. Forget it. It's typically.
Does any of this sound familiar to you guys? Please don't embarrass me and tell me no. Fuck, I'll kill you. I'll fire you all. Oh my God. All right, thank you, Dani. Of course, Dani girl's gonna say yeah. But I mean, it's all of it. Hey, Phil. Phil's been in. Phil's the guy I told you about, Anthony, that lives in Boca. So this is the first time he's back in the room. So I'm glad you're safe. But this is everything. I love listening to you, Antony, because these are all things that we talk about often, and I don't think that many other rooms or many other people are talking about these sorts of things. Not like this. Everybody wants to have the high and the low and sound fancy and talk smartly. I sound like a goof sometimes. My trading plan that I write up looks like an 8th grader wrote it, but it's the way I write it. And when we were putting the room together, I wrote. They said, just write your plan the way that you write it yourself. Okay, so I do. It's when people get that in their inbox, I'm sure they're looking at going, what price action about, and they go the target of what is this shit? But anyway, but everything that you're saying is just a different way of and actually the way that you talked about healing. It may be a different way than I say it. But the way that you put really about the healing, knowing your second trade first, and once you know where you're wrong, now you can get on the other side of being wrong and let the market dictate it and take your remove your emotions out of the trade as best you can, as much as we can, and just let the market then dictate what we do. Yeah. And react to it, including increasing our size, decreasing our size. I don't like this price action. I don't like the way that it's treating this area here. I want nothing to do with it, or I like this price action. I love, and I do it. I increase my size like that all the time. I don't always say it because I don't want newer traders taking shots, but we're trading. We open up in an area like this morning. We open up at the 30-31 area, which has been a target in the S&Ps for us. We open up there and we start working above it. I'm going to be looking to put a little bit more on than usual because that market respects that area. Actually, no, a better example would have been last Friday. 29.44 has been one of Judd's levels in the S&P for a long time, even before it was the high. And so whenever we're around 29.44, I use that as it's a quarterly pivot. Judd, I think you're in here, aren't you? So what happened was we opened, if you recall, on Friday, I don't know if you were paying attention, but we opened just below it. The opening range was 39 to 41. So because the high of the opening range, this is just the way I did it. The high of the opening range was 41.5. The high of the morning session was made in the opening range, 41.75. Under 44, so my risk was completely defined. I put them on. I had a nice package on at that area. I'm not going to announce to everybody, hey guys, I'm selling 1,000 here. It's not a nice package, by the way. I would never sell 1,000 lot, not anymore. Well, fucking not ever, actually. On the minis maybe, but not in the pit. Anyway, you know what I mean. Judd's here,
Yeah.
and
What's up, Judd?
How you doing?
Good, buddy.
It's a
you know,
beautiful.
I think that there are some people that would pay $1,000 to listen to this conversation right now.
Oh yeah. Well,
Listen to you two, not me.
Well, I mean, the number that Pax had was generated in 2018, and the first 2018.
Yeah, it's 2944. So it was easy to double size there.
And this goes just hearing you guys talk about this. And this is like for me and my stuff, and like what I would do is, you know, you don't randomly pick those situations where you're going to go and do this. So it's like if you hear this and you're like, oh, hey, you know what? I actually like this area and I'm going to go do it. Well, you have to have something behind that. You know, like I put, you know, confirmations into my trading. So, you know, when you hear Judd talk about a level that he's had for that long, well, that's a major confirmation. If you have an opening range or shorter term thing, you know, that you're using that aligns with that, well, that's a day where you're going, okay, and now it's respecting it. I can bid above it or I can offer below it, just depending on whatever it is you're looking at, because that has real significance. And those are the times you have to wait. I mean, I say this all the time. I know you make money in moments. You know, and never in the history of my career have I looked back on a month where I made, you know, it was just easy numbers, 20 days, 20,000, that I make 1,000 a day. Majority of that was probably made in 20%, 25% of that month. And you know, so it's like how, because on that day was the day where I took advantage of the situation.
Hey, Anthony, I don't want to interrupt. Do me a favor. Talk a little bit more about that, because they hear me talk about that. My months are made in, just like you just said, maybe 25% of the days. My quarters, same thing. My years, same thing. Can you talk a little bit about that and just continue on about it like you are?
Well, I mean, historically, for me, there's no question about it. If you look at my best years, never were they made more than three months. I mean, maybe 08 was the exception, you know, because 08 was so busy for so long. But let's just look at like this year, for example, or even last year, you know, recent times. There are certain months where just everything is lining up and everything is working, and you have the fundamental stories that you get from Ira, you have the long-term work from Judd, and you have the opening range from Pax, to where everything is like, okay, you know, opening range is low of the day in the 10-year. It's got Judd's number, and Ira's like, the fundamental reasons for the treasuries or the bonds are that they should rally. Okay, I'm gonna press on those times. So that rally that happens is when you make the money. And I think where a lot of people, what happens is that they don't catch that, and then they'll try and maybe short that rally, or they'll fade, you know, what happens in a primary trend, and then they'll you know, screw themselves up, versus waiting for the moments that are there where everything is lined up. I think a lot of people fear that moment of like, wow, this is really happening, because I've noticed in my career that a lot of times I would look at a big move happen in the market or about to happen, and I'd make some money, and then I'd leave, and I'd be like, oh God, I hear this guy killed it or whatever. And then the next day I'd come in and I'd get smoked. And what I learned was like, okay, the days that those are things that are lining, I'm going to have to really take advantage of it, because that's what's going to afford me to sit on my hands the next time around. So you have to have that awareness when everything is going on. And I'll even expand my risk. I mean, one other thing I want to talk about that is that, let's just say, for example, you have 20 days in a month, right? You're going to trading, you're going to risk $1,000 a day. Let's just say it's an easy way to look at it. So at the end of the month, if you lost $20,000, that's if you lost every day, you lost $1,000, fees, commissions, whatever, right? At the end of it, would you be okay with that? Now, that to me is something that I look at, because how much am I willing to risk per day, per week, and per month? And the reason why I look at it that way is because I might allocate a greater percentage of my risk during the time where there's more things going on, versus allocating that risk equally across every single day as if they are equal. They are not equal in my mind. In my mind, they're few days deserve a lot more of my attention, and they deserve a little bit more of my risk. So therefore, I will continue to trade, and I will continue to trade bigger during the times where everything makes sense to me. And the times they are not, I might risk $500 that day, $300. I might risk a third or half of what it is. I mean, I feel that so many people put in this daily amount and they trade until it's already gone. Well, why? What I do is I started storing those times, because I realized that I needed to be able to be in business for when the times I'm going to get paid happen, because I don't know when they're going to happen. And I put myself out of business so many times prior. I mean, Pax, you could probably relate to this, and Judd, I know as well. How many times have you been trading like shit during a long period of time, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, I can't trade today, and it's the busiest day of the year or the month.
Yep.
And you're like, you can't believe it just happened.
Yeah, and you're mentally destroyed.
You're mentally crushed. So if you look at it, if you know those days are going to be in front of you, act accordingly. So it's like, I mean, I can't, until it happens to you, I can't remember so many times going up to the office, you're like, you're not trading today, you're done, you've been getting killed. And I'm sitting there watching the market and I'm going, oh God, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this. And I'm like, having that feeling of not being able to be there was the worst. So I learned to take advantage of those days when they were there, and not to let the market take advantage of me when they weren't happening.
Yeah, and the beauty of the stuff that we follow now, Anthony, and the same stuff that Ira follows, has been following for 40 years, is that the more matches I get on the work, it's like a slot machine. And 4 or 5 times a year, you're going to get monster turns off the work. And you have to be ready to take advantage of it, because they're not small turns. They're 80, 100, 200 points in the S&Ps. So you have to be ready mentally to match it up, acknowledge it's happening, and get on it. And they're really low-risk shots to do it.
So, I mean, it just is like whatever, for whatever work that anyone is doing. And for you guys know that those times are going to come. And when somebody is, I think for a new trader, a lot of times they'll look at, I'm going to risk X amount a day. They almost feel like they have to risk that whole amount for the day, as opposed to allowing themselves the mental strength to say, you know what, today is not a good day to put on risk. Today is a day, and then allocate that to where you then have that moment where, like the Judd's talking about and what Pax is talking about, what he had the other day, where it was like, you know what, this is a day I have to be in a full position at least. But if things are really going well, I might press them a little bit or maybe a lot, depending. And if I'm making money, I'm going to keep trading. That's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to do, but it's a commitment that I've made. And it's why, like, I wake up a lot of times and I look and I see if it's not lined up, I don't feel the least bit bad about it, because it's not happening.
Well, and you shouldn't ever feel bad about what you missed. It's what you're on for.
Exactly.
And Matt and I had conversations with everybody yesterday about overtrading, because everybody's got FOMO and they keep clicking the mouse.
Everybody.
They're destroying themselves and they won't stop trading, even though we've just won't even look at the screen.
Today too.
I mean,
a great example. And you've been talking a lot about money stops, and I know that, I just want to clear it up, because I talk about we don't use money stops. I don't use money stops. We use market stops. If I know what I'm going to do in the market before we get to a certain price. If we get to 29.44, I know I'll be exiting longs and I'll be getting short there. In the crude, long crude from the opening range, I know that we get above 56.30, I'm taking profit. 56.60, I'm flattening. Above it, I'll get long again. So we've talked about this before. I don't like using money stops because I have found the way that I trade, I find that money stops are going to, if I use a money stop, like say I'm willing to risk $1,000 today I'm gonna find myself missing a lot of the moves that I should be on. Well, all right, 500.
When you say a money
Let's say
stop
500.
for like per day or for a trade, like for me, I have a price stop, but I have an amount of risk that I'm comfortable with risking.
Yeah.
So when I'm
okay,
I don't
that's
use
what
like,
I mean.
for me, I have to have a daily amount
Yeah.
of risk.
Yes.
And what I'm
Yeah.
saying is like for
That's
me, for example, I think that a lot of people, they look at it and their daily risk is not. So I think that people shouldn't even be using the intraday margin. I feel like yeah, you could use them a little bit.
Oh, I
But
hate
for
that.
example, I just feel like that's why I like the micros so much. I mean, it's one reason, but I just feel that if you're using, these margins, then, for example, like if you got a $20,000 account and you're risking $1,000 in a day, well, you're really not committing. Your $1,000 a day risk is just way off, because you're going to lose. If you're wrong for a month straight, your account is gone. So my point is like my daily risk is very equivalent to what my monthly risk is. So if I'm going to risk $1,000 in a day, right? Typically that means I'm willing to risk 20,000 in a month. So for me, I don't allocate. If I'm losing in a month, let's just say I'm down 10,000 and I was going to risk 20 for the month, and I have a day where there's more for me to be able to risk. I feel like this day has the potential for good outcome, right? Because there's a lot of things happening. I might allocate more of my risk to that day. So therefore, in my mind, I'm still within where I'm at. So once again, it goes back to the healing side of things. Like I'm somebody who really needs that. I need to know. I can't go into a month. Like once I hit my downside for the day or for the month, I'm done. That's it. There just isn't anywhere else around it for me, because that means that I have not been trading well to keep myself in the game for the month. So I protect it. So that's why when I say like, how much am I willing to risk, or how I started to get bigger, was when I was making money, I would then start putting, I would be pressing, and I would be having dollar amount risk that I would have to it, because I also don't want to give back my whole day if I'm making money. If I'm up $5,000, I wouldn't go in and trade 100 lot and risk a handle on it. I would have to be within, a certain amount that I would give back. So that's when I say I would have dollar amount of risk, and those that would be all pertaining to a price stop. So going back to the 2,900s I was talking about, if I was going to start buying above even, I know at 75 I'm gone. So that contract size would be determining how much I'd be comfortable with in dollar amount risk. So it is a price risk for me, but it is also a dollar amount that I am comfortable with. Does that make sense? So when I say that, I feel like I'm just someone who really lives by that. I really do feel that it's important to me, because otherwise in the past I've kind of lost where I would be. Like I said, my worst days were days I came in with, I got to be long here, I got to be short here, and I just had no kind of concept of where I was, and how much I could risk, and all sorts of different things. And all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm only down 10, and all, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're just like, whoa, this is getting, I become emotionally attached to my decision making, which I think you always are, but it just becomes like my decision making is just all over the map. I am very regimented.
So Anthony, what do you do to clear out your head for these guys? What do you go play golf? You get away from the screen. What do you do to recharge your batteries and get back in the game?
I think it's a regular thing. I think it's every day I do something. When I'm away, I stop. I go for a walk. This is why dogs have been so great for me, because I go and I take a walk and I don't listen to anything. I really do. I do minor meditations almost every single day. I think that just even doing a little bit of breathing and a little bit of a small meditation on a regular basis keeps me very much in tune with where I am. It helps me tremendously. Reflecting back on the day, looking like lately I've been doing a lot of watching. I haven't been trading too much as of late. Typically August, September, not super busy months for me, especially now with rollover. I'm typically on vacation or whatever. I'm not really trading, and I'm watching, and I look back at, what happened in the action. I'm always visually thinking about how I would even trade a day or what was happening in it.
Yeah.
And I think just by thinking about it visually a lot is really what keeps me in tune with where I'm at, and that's what I do, So when a guy asked me the other day, talking about creating balance. Well, I do exercises that force me to be balanced. And it seems weird, almost like, like I'm on a BOSU a lot or a ball.
Anthony, I do the same shit. This is amazing. I've never heard anybody say that. Please.
Because it makes me focus on the exercise more. So this way, when I'm in front of my screen, I have greater self-awareness, situational awareness as to what's happening, and that's what I do. So I feel that, you got to make these mistakes first, though. I don't think that there's no way. I think you have to make some of these mistakes first, because I actually talked with Dani Sittloh about this a lot. I've actually had private calls with her, and, when she came on the show, I said, the one thing for me is that I feel that the pain I have felt and the times where I've made the mistakes are what keep me from making those mistakes again.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of the mental work I put in now, that they help, but they keep me more in control of the situations as they're happening or about to happen. But until I felt that sickness, that pit in my stomach, that emptiness where where you leave and you just feel like they just suck the life out of you. Us walking through the turnstiles, where you just feel so alone. I don't want to go back to that, So it's like, that's why it's very important for me. Price, risk first. How much am I willing to risk? Right there in that moment, I've accepted it. Do it. So it's like, that's why I get crazy sometimes when people are like, I've said this before. I've done videos on this. Be patient. Yeah, well, you got to know what you're being patient for. And then, what? I was known for being really fast. My decision making was quick. I can't tell you how many times I turn out of 500 contracts in 30 seconds sometimes. It was like nothing. Buy 100, buy another 100, buy 150, sell 300, and have some left, sell 50 more. I would just be in and out of them instantly, because I knew I was patient for the moment, but when it happened, I was ready, man. I was ready to do it, and I accepted the outcome. And I think that, so it's like, you got to make the mistake first, then you reflect on it. And I think you start focusing on being able to fix it in those situations going forward. I've said many times, I think one of the biggest thing that differentiates a professional trader to a retail trader is a retail trader in the moment will just allow themselves to make a mistake they know is wrong. When a professional trader is like, what, if I do this, I'm going to be sick about this.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do it. And that decision comes quick.
That feeling comes quick too.
It does.
We talk a lot. Actually, I want to ask you about I wanted you to explain a little bit more about what you meant by the way, gold 165 for you guys that are long. 1565 is our next target on the upside. I wanted you to kind of just explain a little bit more about what you meant when that feeling of walking on the turnstile, where you're walking on the floor through the turnstile and you just feel so alone. Explain that a little bit, will you?
Well, you mean how we would leave and just feel alone? Like you just feel like there's just no one. You feel like there's just no one could understand what I just did to myself. And it was like, I always knew that what I had just done, I was aware of it prior to me doing it. Mm-hmm. So it was like, almost like I'm looking at myself doing it. And then I would do it, and then I would leave and be like, I'm so disgusted with myself that I can't, I'm walking down the hall where it's like, you look to somebody, you can't even talk to them. There's nothing that anyone could say to me. I just felt like it was just, I don't even know what I just did, but I knew exactly what I just did. And I just put myself out of business so many times because of it, that, maybe not entirely out of business, because obviously I was able to still do it, But you put yourself in a position where it's like, wow, man, I can't believe what you just did. You know, it just is like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'd build up my account, 50 grand, 60 grand, you know, as a new trader, you know, from 25. And all of a sudden I'd walk out of there one day and I'd have like, you know, 2,600 in there. And I have my seat lease was the next day. It was 2,200.
Oh my
and
God.
I'd be like, I'm just totally dead. Like, I don't even know what to do. What did I just do? He just had the ability to be in business. And all of a sudden now I'm done.
So what I tell a lot of people, I tell every Friday I put out my plan in my poorly written plan. I always put in there to remember that we're here to grow our personal accounts, not our trading accounts. You know, especially in this, this goes back to the $500 a day intraday margins, which I wish they were outlawed. I think they're so dangerous. You got to
use micros. I mean, there's no shame in this, people. There's no shame in it.
Yeah, you know what? Hear it from somebody other than me and Judd. Hear it from Anthony, please. Use micros, for God's sake.
Be who you are. If you can't admit who you are, then this is going to be the hardest business you ever get into. It's going to be harder than hard. If you don't know who you are and accept it, you can't grow. I think until you look in the mirror and say, this is who I really am right now, then you have a building block. If you don't have that, if you're pretending to be somebody you're not, you're toast. It's just, I mean, that's just reality.
So,
and the micros are great because it allows you to get your size up mentally and trade the proper unit size you're supposed to be trading to actually trade the market, instead of trying to be underfunded trading something that requires more margin and you're not trading properly, and you're not garnering good habits,
because the whole time you're not right in the head.
No,
you're really scared. You don't know you don't have control. Like I always said, I put myself in so many positions of weakness in my life. Have to go to this guy to borrow the money. Hey, mom and dad, I'm broke again. You know, going to my aunt, coming home, looking at your wife going, hey man, I cannot believe this is happening. You know, when you put yourself in positions of weakness, it's because at the time you were over your skis, and I've been the king of that. And then once you realize that if you just accepted where you were, the growth comes from there. Money comes quickly in this business, right, guys? I mean, if you do the right things and put the time in, before you know it, you're making more money than you ever thought you did. But you have to be from that right place first.
All right, which brings me right back to anybody can make money in this business. Not everybody can hold on to it. Not everybody can keep it. And there's a million different things that we need to do. Don't build up your trading account first. Build up your bank accounts. If you want to, if it's time for you to change your size and to up your size, do it because it's a business decision, not because you got an extra 10 grand in your account because you had a good week. Take that money,
or because you need to pay a bill that all of a sudden now you're going to trade bigger, right? I mean, how many times I remember when I bought, my nice cars, or I went and bought, I remember I bought additional property, whacked. It was just like, I remember guys, like Gary Lev and certain guys be like, oh, you just bought a house. He goes, take a month off. I'd be like,
you're gonna lose the price.
You'd be like, okay, all right. Next thing you know, I'd be like, oh my God, what just happened? He's like, I told you.
The truth,
man.
The first time I bought a nice car, I lost the price of the car. And I bought when we bought our first really nice house in Lake Forest, it was Dean Norris, NNN, and I'm not a big fan of Dean Norris. He was bitching. He was kind of giving me grief about not buying a house, being too cheap to buy a house on the lake. But anyway, he told me the same thing. Take a month off because you're about to get your ass kicked, and I did. But it's all a mind game, and it's anybody can make money, and we've got if I buy 10 or I sell 10, I've got a 50-50 chance of making money on that 10 lot. And I remember, I don't think I ever told you this, Ant, the fall between when Nicole and I separated, we went up to our lake house in Delavan. She said, I don't understand. How can you be losing money? You got a 50-50 chance of making money. You seem to be losing money constantly. But I was trading. That's when I was trading like 10,000 minis, 10,000 Nasdaq minis, and 1,000, 2,000 S&P a day, and I was really kind of breaking even. But that's me and Dani Sittloh just went through. I went through $650,000 in the office, and Dani went through 150. We're looking for stacks for trading advice. That's how bad it was. Or Sammy's uncle Herbie. Remember Herbie Mustari? Oh my God!
I saw stacks on the street the other day. I couldn't believe it.
Oh,
in
he
front
looks
of the board of trade. Yeah,
he's cleaned up. He takes showers. I saw him at Dani's funeral. He looked like $1 million. He looked like $5. He looked like a double sawbuck, really. Which for him is $1 million. But Dani was going, find stacks. Stacks, what do you think the market's doing? 10 minutes later, Dani's throwing chairs at him. Get out of here, you. Anyway, my ex-wife said, you got a 50-50 chance. But the way I was trading, I was making it maybe more 80% that I would lose money, 20% that I would make money, because I was in and out and trading like an asshole. That I lowered the odds. And now the way that we trade, and like with the micro, with my intraday targets and Judd's macro targets, my odds are increased to 80%. I'm going to make money. 20%, I'm going to lose money in any given day. I haven't had a losing week in a long time. That doesn't mean that all my weeks are huge winning weeks. But it's all because of of how I learned how not to lose money, in managing my positions to minimize my risk and maximize my profit, which is exactly everything you're talking about in detail. And I love it because this is stuff. Everything that we're talking about are things that we talk about in my room every day, in Judd's room every day, in both of our rooms together, every single day. I had a guy right just 5 minutes ago, private message me. Is this conversation meant specifically for me? Is it directed towards me? And I just laughed my ass off. And I've had other people say the same thing because this is any successful trader has dealt with ourselves. We've had to deal with ourselves and how and what we bring to it. What do we bring to our trading? In our room, here's another thing. I don't know if you know this, but Dani Sittloh does we have a mindfulness room, and the mindfulness room is a lot of what. Remember Mickey teaching us the mindfulness stuff, and you were actually talking about it. How he said that you were a healer. You heal well. Dani does a weekly morning meditation, 6:15 until 7 in the morning. She takes us through a guided meditation. I fell asleep again today. not because it was boring, but because she had me so relaxed.
And people ask me a lot about meditation, and I do it every single day. But I think that for a lot of people to get involved in meditation, and for those of you that don't, it doesn't have to be long. For me, I'm not somebody who would sit down and, my one friend, he would meditate for 45 minutes or an hour. That's not me. But what I do is, I think if you're looking to get into meditation and you're looking to help with focus, 5 minutes, you'd be surprised. I think just 5 minutes of alone time, you and yourself, and allow the thoughts that are going to come into your head, let them come in and just deal with them. I feel like, too many people try to focus on what's going to come into their mind. Like, I'm getting ready. I'm going to go for a walk here in a little bit. And whatever comes into my mind, I'm going to think about. I don't really plan it because I feel like I want to know. You don't know what's going to surface. And that's really why I started doing like more videos. And all of a sudden I'm thinking of something and I'm like, you know what? This is important to me. It's resonating with me now. And that's when, at that moment, I feel like you allow situations to arise and you deal with them better, as opposed to, once again, imposing your thoughts on the market, imposing things to happen. It just doesn't work that way, at least for me. So I think it's very important to allow, when you take time off and like a meditation, just to allow yourself to let the thoughts come into your mind and see how you deal with them, see how you react to them. It's helped me tremendously, and it doesn't have to be for a long time.
And Anthony, that's a really good point, because the screen can be your enemy. And sometimes you can look at it and stare at it. You're in an execution screen, and all you're seeing is numbers. And until you get away from it and take a step back, you can't see anything. And it's really helpful to do that, whether you're meditating, whether you go for a run, just get away and do something you like to do for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to my time doing that every single day, and it just brings me right back, But no, this was great. I got to run. The sun's peeking out. It was great to be in here with you guys. I know my wife was like, I'm either going to go to the beach for a little bit, or because we were supposed to be in Hawaii this week, but didn't happen because of the hurricane. So we're both off. So, but I'm going to turn it into a good week, and I feel just very lucky that it didn't hit us. That's all I can say. And like Pax said, we had a great time. My family, everyone came by me, and so now I'm going to get out a little bit this afternoon, enjoy the time I kind of had planned off, and that's it. But you guys are awesome, Judd, Pax, everybody in the room. Great speaking with you guys today.
Hey, Anthony, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Anthony.
Cheers, seriously, anytime,
All right,
bud.
cool.
All right, brother. I'll talk. Hey, remember, I want to talk to you the next day or two, so we'll call you.
Anytime. I'm here.
All right, brother.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, God bless. I'll tell you. Anthony is Anthony is one of the best. I don't even know how to explain it. Anthony is a great guy. He's a good man. And I've always thought that the best compliment a man can give another man is just to say he's a good man. And Anthony is a good man. He's a good friend. I'm very grateful to have the men in my life that I have, including Anthony, Judd, my friends, my mentors, guys that know me, and traders, and that's important too. Traders that know me, and traders that will keep me honest, and traders that will make sure that I'm being true to myself, and will be listening to me when I speak, not to bash me or to bust my balls in any way, but to listen to me and to pick up on key words and phrases to make sure I'm still centered or balanced. Judd does it all the time. Anthony and I talk a couple times a week. We do it, for one another, and we've had some challenging conversations, both with one another, with each other. Him challenging me. Hold on, Pax, take a look at it this way. Hold on, Matt, take a look at it this way. Hold on, Ant, you might want to look at it, and that's important. It's important for all of us. It's important for all of us. And we've been blessed because we've had that, I've got to know Anthony. My God, I'm 18 years old. He's 40. He's in his early 40s, mid 40s. I've gotten to know, I don't even know how long that is. 20 fucking 5 years, 6 years. We've known one another. Judd and I have known each other 23 years. You guys don't have that with one another, and you don't have that with other traders. Some, Mikey and Rob, you guys do, and Jeff, maybe, some of you guys that have been around a little bit longer. But, that's what we provide one another in this room, in our rooms. That's what Judd's doing in his room with his guys.
Ira doesn't, he'll say, give me one sentence or 2 words, or I'll send him a chart. And that's all that's communicated. That's a long time.
Yeah, but that's a lot of communication between you and he. There's a lot communicated in there. A lot said and unsaid in just that little communication, because you guys have known each other for 40 years. Well, maybe not that.
40 years.
I thought maybe I offended you because all of a sudden you got quiet.
No, I'm up. I get gray hair. It's okay.
And we have actual conversations too. You and I will have conversations that are about 4 or 5 words. You'll know exactly what I'm saying. You know what I'm doing in the market before I even tell you. You know what my positions are. You and I have had conversations in your room or here where we'll exchange 4 or 5 words and we know what we mean. But that can't be replicated. That kind of camaraderie, and that kind of, they used to say, God Almighty, Adam, if you're listening, or any of you guys, Brian Silcott, or anybody that's been in combat, I am not equating what we do with combat. Please do not misunderstand me. You guys are heroes. Traders are zeros compared to you guys. But what I mean is that the only other thing I think maybe a sports teams, the only other people that really kind of understand what we go through, who else would have understood what Anthony was just saying? You guys did, because you guys have gone through part of it, and what you haven't gone through yet, you see yourself going through, or you've heard me talk about it. You've heard me talk. There isn't anything that Anthony mentioned that we don't talk about every single day. He just said it in different words, and you guys need to hear that in different words.
I mean, I still have nightmares about stuff. I had a day when I was even bid in the yen. I got like 1,240 contracts. The Secret Silent Society called in a trade 25 points below where I was bidding and set up a 3,000 contract stop. And now they're all offering below where I just bought, and I'm still bidding. And now the question is, am I going to lose $1 million right now? And really, that's what went through my mind. Am I going to lose $1 million right this minute?
Whew. What was your worst day?
And so you know what? I'm not losing $1 million. I know I can come back from 50 or 60,000. It'll take me a week or two to get it back, but I'll get the money back. But I'll be there tomorrow to get the money back. So I bailed out of the trade, walked out of the pit, totally disgusted, gave Kevin my cards, told him to make sure I was flat, walked upstairs. By the time I got upstairs, that 1,200 cars was worth almost $800,000.
Oh, my God.
But you know what? You have to make the decision. Are you going to be around, or are you going to sit here and hope? And that's what that was. And then I came back. And by the end of the week, I got my money back. But, I was royally pissed off for a long time about it. But some things, you just got it. Okay, what's the decision?
When you say you were pissed off, like that's a similar story to the day where I lost all that money. No, wait. Yeah, it is, because that's when Dean Carlson and Andy were both trying to buy. Dean and Andy were both trying to buy.
They're both trying to give you $1 million in a clip. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, no, thanks. But it wasn't, I wasn't turning down the money. I was just thinking I need to get out. I don't know how much I'm down. But what was running through your head when that happened? No. What was running through your head?
I was aggravated that it was even allowed in. And because I just kept going, even bid. And Dave hit me on like 1,200 and some, and I'm still even bid. And all of a sudden they call in this trade, and we had already broken bid. We'd already broken a couple of 100 points. And I was the only one in the world making a market. I mean, the banks weren't even making a market then.
You're in the yen, right?
And now everybody's trading, everybody's selling 85s, and I'm long 1,200 at even. It's not looking so hot. And if they go offer where all these other guys go bid, we're going to zero.
And they all knew that you were loaded up.
They all knew what I was doing.
Yeah, so they're ready to squeeze you. So if the banks didn't come in and start bidding, you were fucked.
Yeah. So I couldn't risk it. Could not risk it. Just bailed.
That's interesting. I never heard that story before.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just fuming.
What was your worst trading day? 7 figures, 6 figures?
I don't know. That was probably my worst day that I ever had.
I don't think I ever asked you that.
Yeah, that was probably it right there.
I never.
Other than the other day in the yen where bid, and everybody bought halves right in back of me. The guy said, "I'll sell you, 700 at a half," and I'm even bid, right? And then that schmuck turned to me and said, "I'll offer you." He said, "Quarter offer." It's like, fuck you. I wanted to string them up. Fuck you. And then we went straight up 250 points. And that happened a couple of times in there. And all those guys should have gone to jail forever for what they did. And they didn't.
No, they didn't.
And they let them back in, which was even worse.
Oh,
Euro time, it's the bonds. The bonds are rallying. The bunds, and we went over that point this morning in the bund, okay? At 178.22 was where the ORL weekly stops were. They went down below it, and once it came back up, our 30-year treasuries rallied, the bunds rallied, and all the metals took off. Same trade.
Bonds are on their highs. I didn't notice that until just now.
No, yeah, it's all off the European debt instruments.
Yeah, against the Yotes and the Boons.
So, and that goes to another conversation Matt and I always have, and with you guys, it's, there's more to trading than the execution screen. You have to learn how to see. And until you learn how to see, you'll never know when you're supposed to, what Anthony was talking about, you'll never know when you're supposed to increase your size and decrease your size.
Does anybody, do you guys know what, no, I'm sure they don't. So what do you mean by you have to learn how to see?
Well, you have to know what's running the show, okay? And what the correlations are. It's silver yuan, gold, silver. We're up at a level in the silver. It's a huge quarterly number up here. Huge quarterly moving average. It's not one of my hard numbers, but the market's respecting it nevertheless. So you have to know when you can buy strength, when you can sell weakness, and when you have something on, you just let it play out. You don't trade it. Sometimes you have to know when the market is working for you and let the market work. And that's what I mean by seeing things, to be able to understand when the capital flows are on your side and you either want to increase your size or you want to just hold on to what you've got and press it out.
That's it. That's what I wanted you to say. That's it. That's exactly right. I didn't mean to imply that, yep, that's right. You passed my test because you're the one that taught me what seeing is and you taught me how to see. But that's what I was hoping you were going to get to.
Yeah, and I miss trades all the time. I know that I Fleur for a turn, and I sent him a thing the other day. And then I looked at it, it had an outside reversal higher day, and it opened at 17 and I gave you another shot at it, and I didn't take it. It's trading at 1875 now. It's a huge move in something like that. But I didn't take that one because I was heavily involved in the silver. So, you don't have to trade everything. You just got to trade the ones you can get on and that are working for you. And don't feel like you missed anything. I miss stuff every single day.
Why you guys have Judd in here? Some of you, I had some private conversations with, and Troy, if you're in here, I'm coming, brother. Let's just push it until 1. But if you guys, we've had some private conversations today and the last couple of days. So I'm not going to single you out because they've been private. But those of you who have been overtrading and struggling with overtrading, struggling with and believe me, Judd has. Believe me, I have for hundreds of years. It seems like 1,000 years I struggle with it, but I don't struggle with it anymore. I don't. I'm over it. I don't worry about missing a move. I don't care. I haven't made a trade in the S&P since 840 this morning.
Yesterday, everybody in your room too, there in my room, they're going. They want to do a trade. I said, whatever you do, don't trade. There's no way of knowing for sure what it's going to want to do. You didn't know that they were going to do that thing out of Hong Kong last night.
No.
You trade the setups that you're up for, that's in your time frame, and you don't worry about the rest of them.
Are you guys understanding what Judd's talking about? If you don't, please ask or make comments. Because this is the same stuff that we talk about a lot. There will always be. That's something that Judd would say to me. God, when I first started trading, is you don't have to be part of every. There's always going to be another move. And Anthony addressed it earlier. You just have to be here for it. And I wanted him to clarify real quick. I just wanted him to clarify that when he was talking about money. I'm willing to risk 1,000. He wasn't talking about money stops. He was talking about price stops, just in easier terms for you guys to understand. I just wanted to make that clear. But anyway, Anthony was
and that goes to trade location.
Yes. Well, that's what I was going to. It goes exactly to trade location, trade definition, trade location, same basic thing. That's absolutely right. If you don't have good trade location, you don't have a trade. If you don't have good trade definition, you don't have a trade. If it's not the right time frame, well, do we have trade definition? Do we have trade location? Yeah, but time frame, no, don't. I'm not comfortable with it, so then don't take it. But if you don't have those two things, you do not have a trade.
Yeah, it could be the wrong time of day, and it could be totally the wrong time of day, and that has to do with volume, players, and you fighting the algorithms, thinking that there's trying to chase the algos, thinking there's something there when there's not. And that's the worst thing you can do. I mean, hey, somebody sent me a thing telling me how much money they spent in commissions. I mean, when I actually costed it out on what that would mean over a year on a daily round turns, it was insane.
$17,000, right?
Yeah. That's 17. Yeah, that's over trading.
Unless you're making $1 million or $2 million, I don't even know how much. That's way over trading. But I want to get back to this, and you just mentioned it, and there was a point I wanted to make about Anthony before I got off. Is that on that tangent? Was that we need to be here for those days. That tomorrow is going to be that day that we have that 100-handle rally, or that we go up to 20. We open up again at 29.44, right at 29.44, and then we break 150 points. I'm not saying that tomorrow is going to be it. I'm just saying, for the sake of argument, tomorrow is going to be it. Yet in this garbage, and at 8:32, I said, I don't like the matchups. I don't like the price action. I'm going to take this shot. And if it doesn't work out, I'm scratching, I'm getting out really quickly. And that's what I did. And I don't think I made an S&P trade since 8:40. I made one more NASDAQ trade, and I got paid on it, and I scratched it. I got my crude on. That's all. And now I'm going to be here for tomorrow. I'll survive till tomorrow. I'll be able to trade tomorrow.
And there's always another way to do the trade, okay? For example, okay, last 2 Thursdays ago, Pax got this whole scenario out of IRA that was insanely bearish in the last 2 minutes of the conversation, and he'd been trying to hang out with us for 15 minutes. So, I just bought some Q puts, for the next day. They were cheap. And it was just a lot of, okay, I can articulate it. I know exactly how much I'm going to lose. I don't have to be up at night, and I can go to sleep. And they were big winners in the morning. They weren't at night. I mean, the NASDAQ was up 45 handles when I woke up in the middle of the night. And I got up in the morning, Pax and I talked, and the NASDAQ was down 50 handles. So there's more than one way to do something. You can articulate things different ways, but you have to be consistent in how you're articulating it and what you're comfortable trading and what you're good at.
So Brian writes, and I'm reading what he wrote. I'm stuck in the early stages of missing the move, taking a small loss, and missing the real move. Yeah. Taking it just because it's coming out of the range instead of what Judd is alluding to now. Brian, I don't know what you mean by C. Explain that again. You mean just because it's coming out of the range, or just because you've got the matchups, time frames, and we've got trade location, we've got trade definition. And so that's why you're taking it, not just because it's coming out of the range. Forget that, right? Is that what you mean? And just being comfortable taking those that look, feel right, not worrying about missing the move. Yes, that's it. Okay, yeah, that is what you're saying. And you will get it figured out. Yeah, you will, Brian, because you're putting in the time and you're putting in the effort for it. So yes, you will get it figured out. It's not easy. I don't know how people claim to do this on their own. I don't know how people claim to become profitable and consistently long-term profitable traders on their own. Nowadays, I think it's impossible to do so. Everybody needs experience behind them, and everybody needs somebody with experience and some wisdom behind that experience. In my opinion, maybe it's just because I'm weaker than others. But hey,
no, it's not that, Pax. But it's having the vision to see a lot of different things and a lot of the other moving parts, and that's what Ira's so good about. And he's greatly expanded. I mean, I was like you. If it wasn't moving up and down in the pit, I didn't know what it was. and now look at the range of stuff I look at. And the problem with most of the front ends today is they only give you a 2-year look back, a 5-year look back, and you can't see anything. And that takes time. And, I've got my stuff set up. You guys have been in my room, and when I start going to my screens, I have 6 screens, and I have, 20 different stock screeners up, and, stuff against the currencies and everything else. It's a real different look. And I'm trying to match up capital flow, bond capital flow. And then the last thing is the indices. They're the last thing that moves.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm glad you didn't tell me that in 1998 that you were kind of making it up as you went along. I thought you were the wisest man I had ever met in my life. No, I
learned a lot from Ira. Trust me. I mean, I
know what you meant.
I mean, the first time I looked at his screens in '95, and all it were interest rate differentials across the entire world.
What do you mean by that?
The 30s.
Hold on. What do you mean by that?
My eyes rolled up in the back of my head.
What? Wait. And I'm sure that a lot of people don't.
Well, he was trading currencies off of interest rate differentials worldwide. That's how he trades. My mind can't process that. I think Pax.
I'm back.
Yeah.
No, I dropped off. But all right, so I was asking about the differentials. What did you mean by the interest rate differentials? I don't think
money goes to the highest yield. So yesterday we talked about the fact, I got that note from Ira about RBA. So I looked at the Aussie, and it started putting it in the Gulfish bullish pattern. I knew we bought it the night before when the RBA left rates unchanged. I mean, that's just right out of his playbook. Put in an outside reversal higher day yesterday and followed through today. And then I wrote last night, what that is it's not so much a play on China at the time. It was a play on interest rate differentials and the fact that the Aussie bonds were still yielding close to 1%, and you could buy Aussie dollars. You have to buy Aussie dollars to buy the Aussie bonds. I mean, that's just a physical thing that you have to do. You have to buy the currency and then buy the bonds and then have them held in your name. So guys that are physically doing that have to buy the Aussie dollar to do it. And those are the big guys. So that's an interest rate play. Okay?
Got it.
And that's a classic yield play of Ira's. So as soon as I saw that, then the next thing that went was the euro. Now the Canada's trying to put an ORHK in, and it's or ORH week. I don't think it gets there, but it's also trading with the oil. So you have to decide whether it's an interest rate play, it's a commodities trade, or it's a trade that's is it a China reflation trade? What the trade is to see, and then you have to look at your longer term stuff and see if it actually can have legs. That's how you determine whether you're in it for a trade or you're in it for a longer time frame trade. To see if you're actually just trading to make money, or you're going to take a piece off and see if it could actually turn into something.
Davey Mack, that goes to your comment. Did you understand that? So by looking at the board, knowing a big move is coming, doesn't that give you an overall bias? Not necessarily. What it does is it confirms the fact that that you're on the right side of a wider or bigger move, and or it also tells you what kind of a trader you are. Are we looking to make money? Are we trading to make money, or are we trading to be right? There's a little bit of truth in both of it, I suppose. But does that make sense, David? David wrote, so by looking at the board and knowing a big move is coming, doesn't that give you an overall bias? Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're looking for the triggers of that. So in the gold, it was gold yuan, euro and gold Swissy. And then, once the silver gold started turning and the gold hit, our macro resistance levels, I got out of the gold and focused on the silver. So the gold's up, I don't know, $25, $30 from where I got out, but the silver's up $3. So by looking at the longer term correlations, you can see which one's leading and go with the one that's leading and focus on that one.
I'm so fucking pissed off about the way they mishandled gold. No pun intended. But not pissed off enough to where I'm going to start chasing or start making mistakes. I'm going to trade what I see on the board, Dave. I'm going to trade the market, and I'm just as I can at that time. I'm going to skate to where the puck is, not to where I want it to be, or not to where it's been. And that's another key I should have said earlier. I'm going to skate to where the puck is going to be, not where I want it to be, not where I think it's going to be, or not where it's been in the past.
And you can be out of these trades. Like Pax and I started buying the gold around $12.85, $12.95, and we caught it for like $50. And then we were out of it for a while because it hit our price targets. And then it took a few weeks, and then the currencies confirmed higher again, and we got back in. And it went like $70 in 2 days. So I'm always looking for the trigger to know when it's going to go, and then to get back in. Sometimes you don't, unless you're trading futures and you're willing to sit through something, if you're trading options or you're using ETFs, especially if you're using options, you're going to get back all your money on decay. So timing is really key to get on those things if you want to use leverage. So that goes back to what type of trader you are, what instrument you want to use, what size account do you have? Do you need leverage, or can you just buy the shit and not worry about it?
If you guys don't listen, please understand. If something doesn't make sense, ask.
Yeah, that's the time to ask.
Please just ask. What was Judd, of all of the traders that you've trained?
Robert, hold on. I'm gonna address that in a second. Go ahead, Pax.
Of all the traders that you've trained, what do you figure has been the most difficult for all of us to what's been the most difficult for you to get across or to teach or to
well, most of it is just to stay the course. Everybody, you make them a little dangerous, and then they leave and they don't complete their education. That's the most frustrating thing, and I can't tell me how many guys have done it. And I just shrug my shoulders and say, okay, goodbye. They basically say, we don't need you and see you later. And, guys have done that for the last 30 years, and they're not in the business anymore.
And out of the ones that have done that, how many have come back and said, sorry, I was wrong?
Well, you, one other guy, and Kevin's dead. So, he would have never left. He went to London, he came back, and the first thing he did was start up something with me.
And that's the truth too. I don't care who in the hell you are. I don't care what kind of a trader you are, how long you've been trading. I really don't. I really don't. Or what system, what process, or whatever you've been trading. It's 100%. It's 1,000%. Sticking with it and sticking with the program and not leaving before you're ready to leave. Because by the time that I'm learning something more from Judd, there's more for me to learn, and not just from Judd, but from Ira, from Judd, from the whole thing. And I've got to fill in the blanks, and I've got to do the work myself. I don't know how to make money if I would go from Judd to Ira over to Emo. Emo's got a room, Judd, and bounce around from place to place to place, and that's what everybody does nowadays. You can't do that. You can't do it. Find something that works, people that you can trust, and stick with it. Stop playing games. Don't play games. Not that you guys are. I'm just saying. Many people do. You read it about it all the time.
I mean, Ira still says stuff to me that I have no clue what he's talking about. I don't have to. I just know. I just get the gist of it by hearing it in his voice, whether he wants to be long or short. That's all I need to hear. I don't have to fully understand everything I hear from him. And frankly, I don't. But I get the gist of it, whether it's bullish or bearish. And then I start looking around and trying to figure out a way to articulate it. And if I'm not interested in trading it, then I just let it go. I mean, Ira loves trading the currencies and all the world bond markets. That's his thing. All right, I'm going to go back in my room a second, Matt. If anybody wants me, just, I'll be more than happy to come back in and answer anything these guys want.
All right. There's nothing going on. Page book's out. Nothing's going on. I got.
Okay.
Doing. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I may have fucked myself on that last 25%. The last my crude runner. Oh. I'll get out underneath. If we get underneath 56.30, I'll get out of the last 25%. But I left a quarter on as a runner. All right. I'll talk to you in a bit.